Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Elite City Podcast. I am your host, Mr. Blasco, along with the co-host from the north, Mr. Rick. What's up?
Not much. Biddy's not here. We miss
Yes,
Biddy. Just to let everyone. Biddy's fine. She's just not here.
Just not here. She has some work stuff coming up, and she'll be back.
She's not just still out celebrating her victory.
No,
she once again beat us in the prediction contest. It was that Samoa Joe screwed me. I was up there with her until Samoa Joe.
I got screwed by Andrade. I was not aware of his contract, and found out the hard way that if I would have just did a little research.
Okay, here's the thing: was AEW not aware of his contract? Because how come they they booked him surprisingly well going into that? Like the C2, he did really well. Like he had a storyline with CJ Perry. Like I feel like they thought he was going to resign, because they would have just taken it off TV if he wasn't going to, right?
Well, this just popped in my head. Either that or like, hey, you've kind of been good and kept your mouth shut and,
only punched out Sammy once.
Only punched out Sammy once, supposedly. Obviously stuff like that in AEW, they kind of have that black eye, and he just kind of kept his mouth shut and his head down. So maybe that was kind of a, thank you. You could have ran your mouth and got fired, or, just you did business right.
Yeah, and both sides, I was impressed with the way both sides handled it. He was really professional with, first of all, wrestling all the way up until the end, and not he had a good match at World's End. He didn't
he didn't phone
off
it in
or anything.
Yeah,
he did a good job. And he tweeting. I think he posted on Instagram or Twitter or X or whatever his little thank you to AEW. That was nice. Tony Khan said nice things about him. I'm surprised though that they booked him really strong. Maybe it's just because I'm used to WWE.
True.
Because WWE, if you're leaving, they're like, hey, you're going to lose to every single person on the roster in your hometown. Then we're going to throw garbage at you.
Yeah, then humiliate you in front of your mother.
Then Vince McMahon's going to come out for no reason and fire you, even though you're already leaving.
Yes. And that has probably happened. Yeah. That scenario is somebody has felt that wrath in WWE history.
Yeah, for sure. I still remember there was, not to go off tangent.
Yeah.
There was one time, remember the APA, Farouk and Bradshaw?
Yeah.
I remember they had a segment on SmackDown where whoever the authority figure on SmackDown was at the time, I think it might have been Paul Heyman, fired, there was a match between APA and whoever, and Farouk got pinned, and then I think Paul Heyman came out and was like, well, Farouk, that's it, you're fired. And then he actually was. And I was like, wait a second, what?
Wow.
That was real? That's actually, they actually fired him. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
It was weird.
That's very weird.
But yeah, the Andrade stuff was kind of cool that they gave him a storyline on the way out. I understand not wanting to do that because you don't want him to walk into WWE and be like, I beat so many guys in AEW and look how good I looked on the way out. I get, but it was kind of cool that it went over neatly and nicely, and everyone seems to just move on happily.
Well, see, again, we've been talking about this since we started this podcast. I think that is just Tony Khan coming from real sports and not crazy Vince McMahon. If someone leaves, you take it personally for 55 years.
I guess if you're an athlete and you're not going to re-sign a new contract, if you're a hockey player, it's not like they're like, well, we're in the Stanley Cup final, but you can't play. They don't do that. They're they let you play anyway, and if you don't re-sign, you don't re-sign. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. And
owners don't, his family will never play for my team ever for generations. No, it's, someone Tony Khan doesn't care. It's, again, he looks at it like a team, and it's next man up, next woman up. That's,
and he was professional about it. If Andrade was unprofessional about it, maybe things would have been different, but he was also professional about it.
Right. So. Yeah. So, good luck, best wishes to Andrade, and obviously he's probably going to end up in WWE, but that's not official yet, but more than likely, wish him the best. And
what do you think it means for CJ and Miro? Are they together now? They weren't officially together. She helped him, but they didn't do anything at the end.
See, again, this goes back to this contract thing. If depending on when they knew he was going to be gone. Like, was that really how they were going to end it? Are they between a rock and a hard place now? Just to play devil's advocate, I'll say she picks up another client just to make Miro mad.
Yeah. I feel like this didn't seem like it was playing like they were trying to negotiate with Andrade down to the end, and it just fell apart. So then they changed their booking.
And like I said, I think something like that will happen. Like she'll pick up. Oh yeah.
Maybe one of not that we need to retread WWE storylines because a lot of them were really bad, but didn't she have a thing with Dolph Ziggler? She did. She had a thing where she left Rusev at the time for Dolph Ziggler in WWE, so they could bring that back. Maybe I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see what happens. That's it's a lot of interesting stuff going on right now.
Yeah.
But back to the World's End pay-per-view. Well, we're not going to go match by match. We're going to hit the highlights. First and foremost, Toni Storm. That's all. That's all you need. Just Toni Storm.
Her character, I don't even. I remember the match, but I don't remember the match.
Same
because
here.
I cared more. Her character is incredible.
Yes,
it's just so good.
The smeared makeup, I'm speechless. It shouldn't work.
May with the rose petals, and then Toni Storm weirdly rolling around in them and rubbing them on her face.
Yes. Just everything about it on paper, it shouldn't work, because on paper you would be like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That is never gonna.
Stupid.
It is so good. And I just want it to get more absurd now.
I think now it has to.
Yes.
Well, it's starting there. Didn't she say she was attending a seance?
Yes.
On Dynamite? I feel like it's going to get weirder.
Yes.
I hope she starts talking that she had conversations with dead film producers from the 1930s.
Oh, that would be amazing. That would be utterly amazing.
Because now she's wearing ring gear that looks kind of like a 1920s strongman with the one strap and the big boots. And
well, here's the thing. Before we get into the match, does the AEW production team, do they give her an actual YouTube video? It's something that's 5-10 minutes long.
Yeah, I think they should.
I think they should too. That'd
be really fun.
Hilarious.
Give her a film. Say that she's debuting a film, and it's a 10-minute thing on YouTube. But that would be fun.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
I would like that.
It needs to happen now. But Toni Storm versus Riho for the AEW Women's World Championship. Like you said, I don't remember specifics, but it was a banger.
Yeah, it was a good match. The only flaw I had with it was obviously Toni Storm was winning.
Yeah, this was one of those pay-per-views, again, minus Andrade because I didn't do my homework, that if you just look down the card, it was pretty cut and dry.
The only iffy ones for me were that Andrade match and the main event. But the rest of it was pretty predictable, which is not necessarily bad. Predictable doesn't necessarily mean bad.
Exactly. But this match was in that we knew Riho was not there was a 100% chance Toni Storm was walking out of there.
Yeah, unless she injured herself on the way to the ring or something. Yeah, she was winning.
So again, this next title was the TBS title, Julia Hart versus Abaddon, and again, wonderful match. They both put it all on the line. They both just beat the heck out of each other. But
what was the crowd chant? This is spooky.
This is spooky. Amazing. That was great. But again, you saw this coming a mile away. But kudos to Tony Khan for this. Hopefully they keep using Abaddon. But
I really thought Abaddon was only going to be a Halloween thing, like they have in recent years. But it was cool. I like Abaddon's character. I think it works particularly well with Julia Hart. So yeah, it was cool.
Yes. And, they have been there since day one. They were an original signing with Britt. So, not necessarily day one, but the first
early
month.
On. Yeah.
So.
And they went through all the dark taping stuff and the empty arena stuff. So, yeah, that's cool.
So, yeah, again, predictable but great.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go to the C2 final.
I just before we skip
yeah.
ahead, I just want to talk about the Swerve Dustin thing.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Because I get it. Like first of all,
right.
Sucks for Keith Lee. Like he's clearly had health issues in the past, and now clearly has. I don't know what's wrong now, but something. So yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
He kind of has the worst luck with those sort of things, so that's too bad. I get why they did what they did. I get why it was like 10 minutes long because they had time budgeted for a long like a match between. I get it. I like Swerve like attacking him with the cinder block and being like, I don't care, and just going out. Like I like that. That was a cool aspect of Swerve's. I just thought it was way too long.
It was way too long. It could have been not even a real match. Like attack Dustin on his way during his entrance, have him beat him up, have security pull him off, say Swerve took it too far, blah blah blah.
Yeah. Like I love two things about it. First of all, Keith Lee not cleared to compete in real life. Then Dustin gets his ankle broken with a cinder block, and they're like, no, that's fine. He can compete.
Yeah. He's fine. Come on.
That's acceptable.
Yeah. It's
But what I wanted to happen was like the cinder block thing was cool. If they were going to have a match, it should have been like 2 minutes long. He should have rolled Dustin in, tried to pin him, have Dustin kick out once to show that he like is a tough guy, isn't going to lay down, and then have Swerve beat. Like it didn't need to be 10, 15 minutes, whatever it was. It could have been 2 minutes.
And I just thought of this right now. Do you think they gave them the extended time because it was pay-per-view?
Probably. And probably they like budgeted out all the other matches because they thought the Keith Lee match was going to go 15 minutes. So they already had it. They didn't want to change their plans too much, which I get.
Right.
But like Swerve is like a main event level guy now.
Exactly.
And the fact that like, oh, he's going to struggle against a guy whose ankle he just broke. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like, no, he should have beat him very easily.
Yeah.
No offense to Dustin. Like, he attacked him with a cinder block. That should last 2 minutes. If you walked into anyone's house right now and broke their ankle with a cinder block, they're not continuing to fight you for 15 minutes. Like you broke their leg. That's it.
Yeah. It's like I might even ask you after you attacked me if you could call 911 because I don't even know if I'd be up to doing that. Like I'd be like, all right, dude, you got me. Just help me out a little bit here.
I get it. I just didn't think it was necessary.
And I agree. But just thinking of that, the whole pay-per-view thing, like if that was a Dynamite, I think we get what you just said. 2 minutes, minute and a half.
AEW does have, I think I've talked about this before, they do have a bit of a problem with like squash matches that aren't squash matches, I've called them.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like with Riho and Toni Storm, that wasn't a squash match. Like it was, you knew who was going to win, but like you knew it was going to be a match.
Right.
Because Toni Storm and Riho are at least somewhat comparable levels on the, or like Abaddon and Julia Hart. They're like somewhat comparable levels. Like that's, but like they have a lot of matches where it's just like a main event guy against a guy who hasn't been on TV for 6 months and was a lower card guy, and it goes 10 or 15 minutes. Like I get not wanting to make people look bad and let them like they didn't want Dustin to look bad. They wanted him to like, it's just like, it's weirdly annoying. Because they'll have a match with like, I don't know, Mox and I don't know, not to make fun of anybody, but what's his name? He used to partner with Brian Pillman Jr. Griff Garrison. They'll do that. And like nothing wrong against Griff Garrison, but like he's not Mox. And that match will be 10 or 15 minutes. Like that match should be 2 minutes. Like that's in real life, if you had an NHL team and you're like, now you're gonna play this team of 16-year-olds, like they're gonna lose very badly.
Right. Like the South Park episode.
Yeah. So like I get they're thinking that like, oh, Dustin's a veteran. Sometimes a veteran surprises you, but not really. Like if you had a team of current athletes, like current football players, go up against football players from 20 years ago, they would dominate them in every way.
Yes. It would slaughter.
Yeah. That's the only thing. I don't know. I don't love it. I don't love when they do it. I wish they would do it a bit less.
I agree. But what was a good match on the card, speaking of Mox, we had the C2 final, which was Mox versus Eddie, which that match is going to go down in, I don't want to compare it to because Hogan and Andre, because that was basically like the beginning of an era. but how that match is to WWF/E, I think Eddie and Mox is going to go down in history as, again, not on the same scale, but it's going to be talked about for decades.
Yeah, it was a great match, and it was
So
it was another one where like I was 99% sure Eddie was going to win, but because it's Mox, there was like a chance that
right.
he could have won. There was enough of a chance that Mox could have won that it made it interesting.
Right. And that was I think I said it on the preview show. The ending of that was going to determine the outcome of the main event.
Yeah, that's true.
And as soon as Eddie won, I knew Joe is my man.
I love that Eddie won. I love that. And I know, again, just because it's predictable doesn't mean it's bad.
Right.
Like Eddie, when he declared he was going to put all his titles on the line, it was kind of predictable that he was going to make the final, but like that's the right story to tell. Like Eddie winning was the right story to tell.
It was.
And it was a good moment. It was what it was supposed to be. I know we're not necessarily talking about Dynamite now, but
right. Go ahead.
My only problem, we can talk about Dynamite a little. My only problem was that like they set up the C2 so well, with like top competitors in it, Danielson and Mox and Jay White and Eddie and like all top level. And now like the match on Dynamite was like Trent and Brian Cage and like nothing against them, but they're not Mox and Danielson and Jay White and Swerve. So it's it makes sense that it's like a lower card belt because they already have a main event belt, but it was a little weird to see them go from like, oh, the top competitors in AEW down to like, here's some guys you haven't seen on TV very often. It was a little strange.
It was. And I was just thinking right now, like they kind of painted themselves into a corner because 10 guys in that tournament, like not everybody, but they're all recovering right now.
Yeah.
You know, like, so you lose 9 guys, like, yeah, that match having a 4-way to decide the number 1 contender was kind of, you painted yourself into a corner. It could have easily just been what the main event was, you know, and just said the winner of that also gets a shot at.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
for sure. The C2 was great. I loved it.
Exactly.
I don't love the idea of there being another title.
As long as it stays a traveling title, you know, obviously the Ring of Honor title's involved in it, so that goes with their other show. But if the what do they call the what's the championship called?
Which one? The one Eddie won?
Yeah.
The Continental Crown, like
the Continental Crown, there it is.
Yeah.
As long as they make that belt, like, obviously this tournament just ended, so it's still hot, but you know, once spring hits and it's kind of cooled off, like we could go, I don't know, just say a month without seeing that belt. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that would actually be fine. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, like,
also, I just realized, I know they wanted to have 3 belts, but they called it a Continental Crown, but it's a belt with a picture of a crown on it. Shouldn't it just be a crown?
True. Yeah,
it was like if the diamond ring was a belt with a picture of a diamond ring on it,
right,
instead of a ring.
And they're also calling the belts the Triple Crown. So
I feel like maybe he should get a crown. Why not?
Yeah. Anyways,
great match. I love the match.
And congratulations, Eddie Kingston. Much deserved.
Of course.
Now, I'm going to let you take the lead on the next one because this was, well, between me and you, this was a dream match come true. But for a Canadian boy, Adam Copeland versus his best friend, Christian Cage.
Everything about this was good.
Yes.
Every part of it. Like, I was watching the pay-per-view and it was good, but it wasn't like outstanding. It was fine up until this point. But once this match hit, then I was like totally into everything.
Yeah.
It was so good.
It was, like you said, it was a shift. Like there was it was almost like, okay, there was the first part. Okay, this is the second part.
And like Copeland wearing his stuff from WrestleMania that he wore against Mick Foley. It's
so cool.
I love that his gear, his vest said Edge on it, and they kind of got like white out and wrote
made it say Cope
on top of it, but you could still see that it kind of said Edge. That was great.
That was.
And I love that as soon as he did that, I was like, I hope there's a flaming table. And then there was a flaming table. It was wonderful.
And back to the whole thing with Edge and having the cope on it. It's an absolute shame that WWE is so arrogant that 99% of the people wouldn't even notice that it said Edge, but they had to change it because if the 1% of people saw it, they would be like, oh, they're going to get sued.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I understand Vince was a cutthroat human being. If this new group just lightened up a little bit, I think it'd be better for them in the long run, especially for things like that. Like the fans would have loved that because they recognize the gear. If it said Edge on it, we had all been like, oh, that's so cool. But
yeah, I understand them like not letting you sell merchandise with the name that they came up with. That's fine.
Right.
Like I get it. But like
a throwback for that, come on.
It already existed. They didn't make a new shirt, right? It was already there.
Right.
So yeah, it's weird that I get it, but I don't like it.
You just got to be cool is my, like, I get it. Like you said, if someone's trying to scam money or something, or don't do that. But if
they were making new merchandise with his name, with said Edge on it, fine. Yeah. You didn't come up with the name. I get it. But like, it already exists. It was there.
Yeah. So. And everybody knows, like it's still hard for me to call him Adam Copeland.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's what he's known as. So anyways, back to the match.
The match was incredible. I loved everything about it. I loved them fighting in the crowd. I love Christian being like the smarmiest heel. I love he did a Boston Crab sitting on a chair, which I have never seen before.
That was so cool. that was so cool. It just showed.
I love how for some reason there's kendo sticks under the ring. It makes no sense.
Yeah, like there's no point for them to be there, but it's amazing. It's
all the other weapons make sense. Like I get why there's chairs. I get why there's a ladder, like a hammer. Fine,
you just got to build the ring.
Right, I get all those things, but like, why are there kendo sticks? Right. In what capacity would you ever use a kendo stick prior to a wrestling match?
Right. At least back in the day, they would be like, oh, they must have stashed them there before. Like, at least say that. But it's like, nope, every match you just go under there's weaponry.
But it was fun. It was so good. Everything about it was good. Nick Wayne going through the table was great.
Yeah.
His mom being involved was great. His mom is like a surprisingly good character on TV. Like she's really good at it.
She is. And it really makes me think, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I wonder if she was a wrestler.
Or something.
Like at some point.
She's surprisingly good at it. Yeah.
Yeah. And like naturally good. Like during the interview last night, well, sorry to jump ahead to Dynamite, but she didn't seem out of place or in too deep a water. Like she just naturally flowed.
She even knows the little heel things. Like when Christian wants you to boo him more, he'll just be like, shut up while I'm talking to you. And they'll boo more. Yeah. She does little things like that. Like she'll start talking and I guess they're not booing enough for her. And she'll say like, you can't boo a mother just so they boo more. Like she's good. Like she knows what she's doing.
Oh, so good.
I even liked because when Killswitch Luchasaurus won the thing, I was just like, oh, that's foreshadowing that, Adam Copeland's going to win. But then they swerved that too. It was great. All of it was great.
It was. Now, do you think this was Adam's little, Christian, AEW is going to be your thing? Like, yes, I'm here, but, do you think this was a little like, hey, good job, man. Proud of you.
Yeah. And I've said this before that like no one up until AEW has ever presented Adam Copeland, Edge, and Christian as equals ever. Like when they were in a tag team, yes. But like when they were separate individual wrestlers.
Right.
They've never been positioned as equals. He's like Adam Copeland Edge has always been considered like better.
The better.
Like even when they were singles wrestlers at one point, they both had, quote unquote world titles, but like Christian's was the ECW title by the point where ECW was meaningless. Right. And like Edge had like the actual WWE title. So like they never positioned them as equals. So it's really cool that AEW, like not only are they equals, but here like Christian gets to one up him, which is really cool.
Now we learned, Copeland just made a statement that he's got about 2 years of solid wrestling in him.
Yeah.
Do you think you ride out this first year is the singles? Do you think the last full year is the tag run, or?
Yeah, maybe not a full year, but a good period of it, like at least 8 months or so. Like they have to have another. They have to have another tag run. I think that's how it has to.
Yeah,
end.
I agree. I same. Yeah.
And like the Hardys are broken down, but like I don't even necessarily need to see a match between them and the Hardys, but like they need to be in the ring together. There needs to be like a segment with all 4 of them or something.
Well, what they'll do is it'll be like a tag team battle royal or something, and they'll be like the final 4s. You know what I mean? Like they'll do something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be cool. Yeah, I think they have to end it together. I think that's the whole reason Adam Copeland came here.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like him and Christian were talking and being like, "Oh, we should end as a tag team," and Christian's probably like, "Yeah, but I like it here, so I'm not leaving. So you have to leave." And then they did.
Right. I'm sorry, I was answering a text.
And I don't think WWE would give them that. I don't think like if they said, "Hey, we want to end our careers together as a tag team," I think they'd be like, "Yeah, you're not going to do that. We're not letting you do that. We're going to make you lose to Baron Corbin."
Exactly. Exactly. And just that was just going through a pro wrestling match. That was a pro wrestling match. Like it proves that the pro wrestling wasn't washed out of their brains with sports entertainment.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was like
it really was.
Brawl. It had good psychology. It had good wrestling. It had good character work. It was great. It was an excellent match. By far the match of the night for me.
Now, Adam also said he really would like his last match to be at Maple Leaf Gardens. Is that, first off, does that building still exist?
Yeah, it's still a building. I mean, half of it is a grocery store. Like the bottom floor is a grocery store now. But like the school that I went to, the university I went to, they have the second half. They have the top 2 floors, and it's like their athletic center. So there's a gym there. There's like basketball courts, and there's like a hockey arena there still. It's much smaller. It holds like, I don't know, 3,000 people or something. Like the Toronto PWHL women's hockey team, that's their home arena. So it is a functioning arena still. It's just much smaller than it was.
Well, 3,000, that's about an AEW show.
Yeah, and that's for hockey, right? So you can put some seats on the ice so that you can add another few. Yeah, they could do it. Like it would be cool.
Okay, that would be cool. Who is his last match in your opinion?
That's hard because I think it'd be really cool for them to have a tag match. Maybe like, I don't know, not the Hardys because the match wouldn't be any good.
I was gonna say maybe the Dudleys.
They both work for WWE now, don't they?
Oh yeah, they do. Good call.
FTR maybe that would be cool. They're friends with them.
That'd be cool.
I know Copeland's friends with FTR, so that'd be pretty cool.
See, that's again going back to WWE being cool. That's where WWE should be like, hey, you guys have history with them. Dudleys, get there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's good cross promotion for everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's weird.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to if it would be a tag match because who could it be or who would it be?
Because I mean, he's had his quote unquote, he's had his last singles match in WWE, right? So that was good. Like they did a good job. They actually gave him like a real retirement,
right,
in Toronto in a real match, and he won the match. Like he got to pick his opponent, so that was cool. Like that was really cool of them to do that. So maybe this time his final match is a tag match. I don't know.
Against the Bucks.
That'd be fun, actually. That would be really fun.
Oh, I thought you were gonna get mad, and I was gonna say,
I'd actually like that. No, I'd actually like that.
The special guest referee.
The Bucks would actually be cool just because they're similar. Like the Hardys and Edge and Christian, the team, were like what the Bucks were 10 years before the Bucks were there, right? Like they were like the young team, the young brash team that kind of like broke through what tag team wrestling was at the time and changed what it was. Like the Bucks kind of did that same thing. So that would be cool, actually.
That would be.
I don't like the Bucks now, but I give them respect for what they did before. Yeah.
Nice. Moving on to our main events. We had Smojo versus champion MJF. And a lot of people hated the ending. I absolutely love the ending.
I hated it first, but then I liked it.
I mean, that's the way Joe beats everybody. I don't know why everyone was surprised. Like, anyway.
I think the reason it was surprised is because whenever they do the 1, 2, 3 arm lift thing, it never ends the match. Like,
well, true.
So I think I was mostly just stunned. Like, that's how they're ending. That never works. It's another thing. It's another like weird wrestling inconsistency. because sometimes the referee just calls for the bell. They're like, he's knocked out. They just call for the bell. And sometimes they do the 1, 2, 3 arm thing. And it's not like, I'm sure Joe's choked out a bunch of guys where they just stopped the match and didn't.
Yeah. Like
do
an
that.
MMA fight. Yeah. They don't do that. Good,
but
good point.
I was stunned by it. At first, I thought that's a really weird way to end it. But as time's passed, that I'm like, no, that makes sense. I like it.
Yeah. It was fun. It was brutal.
My only problem with it was as soon as they
ahead.
announced Adam Cole, I was like, oh, he's turning on him.
Well, yeah.
100%. Like, I kind of wish they didn't announce Adam Cole and do kind of what they did at Crown Jewel. Not Crown Jewel. How come I don't know the name of it now? Grand Slam. Sorry, I called it the Saudi Arabian pay-per-view.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was very confused.
I kind of wish they did what they did at Grand Slam when like Joe was choking out MJF and Adam Cole came out to save him.
Oh,
I know he can't walk, but it would be cool if like Joe was beating him, he was really struggling, and then Adam Cole came out, and then you're like, oh, is he actually coming to save him, or is he coming to turn on him?
Right.
It would have been more of a surprise the way they did it, where he came. Like we were like texting during the show, and I was like, no, MJF's gonna win. Look how they're talking about his hometown, and he's gonna win. And then as soon as they announced Adam Cole, I was like, oh no, he's not winning. Like that immediately gave it away to me.
And how cool was they have Adam Cole, the masked men are there, the lights go out, and then when the lights come back on and Cole's sitting in the chair, I thought that was great. That was awesome.
That was really, really good. I love that. Like the actual reveal of him as the devil, I thought they did perfectly. I loved it. I thought it was great. It's a little weird that Wardlow's in this group, I think.
I mean, it makes sense with the whole MJF thing, but yeah, I agree.
I kind of would, if I was doing it, I would have done the Kingdom and Adam Cole, and then just had and Roderick Strong, and then just had Wardlow still be kind of like the guy who's mad at MJF, but not in the group.
Oh yeah, that would be that's cool.
Like he's still out to get him. He's still mad at him, but he's not in this group. Maybe he helps them. Maybe they have a common ally or common enemy.
Right.
But like he's not in the group because it's weird to have him in the group. His whole thing was like they've screwed up Wardlow's booking so badly because his whole thing was like he's MJF's lackey, and then he finally broke out of being MJF's lackey, and then kind of bombed horribly. And then now he's just back to being someone's lackey again. Like it's weird.
Yeah.
Especially when on Dynamite, Adam Cole was like, well, and Wardlow wins it. He's going to give it to me. And like, well, why is Wardlow even here then? What does that have to do with anything?
Well, a good segue. We'll move right on to that. They opened Dynamite. They're known as the Undisputed Kingdom. Called that. Just throwing that.
I like that. It's a good name.
It is a great name.
And I like how they started with his Adam Cole baby video, and then it just said Undisputed. It was great.
Yeah. New music, new entrance, and this was my gripe. So we're gonna go right in, and it is Wardlow. Again, nothing against Wardlow. It is his booking, 100%. I mean, he's an athlete. He's performs in the ring. He's well deserved to be in that spotlight.
Yes, I agree.
But I have the same feeling that I think you have, which is he's going to be the quote unquote black sheep of this group, and whenever it dissolves, everybody's going to be fine in the spot where they're at, and he's going to go back to the bottom.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to try to run the same angle again too, where like he gets sick of of Cole pushing him around, and like but like they already did that once, and it didn't go anywhere. So yeah, it's weird.
Unless this is the one that that we get the payoff right away,
maybe.
He, I don't know, gets a number one contendership and Cole wants it or something, and he just turns on him instantly. But I don't know. I just have a feeling this isn't going to benefit Wardlow.
No, the rest of the group I like. I think it's great for all of them. I just don't like Wardlow's involvement. Did this feel a little bit like the introduction, like the promo of the Firm cut after they helped MJF to you, where they were like, he's going to go after this title, and then he's going to go after this title. Like it was the Firm already did that, didn't they?
Yeah. Good point.
And the firm kind of fell apart pretty fast. So hopefully
Very
this
fast.
doesn't. Yeah.
I
mean, I like that there's kind of an echo to it there because the firm was when MJF was the devil, they were his backup.
Yeah.
So like, I like that now he kind of did the same thing to MJF. Like, I like it, but I don't know. I'm worried a little bit. I mean, I agree with you. I'm worried about Wardlow. I think Adam Cole and Roderick Strong and the Kingdom are going to do really well together. I don't know what Wardlow's going to do.
And again, I just thought of this instant. Of course, because I mean, this is how wrestling works. Adam Cole saying that we're never going to see MJF in an AEW ring again. I mean, he's gone, right?
Yeah. I mean,
100%.
they removed him from the roster.
What?
Yeah. Which, like, I get. I get what they're doing, being
Right.
like, oh, his contract is running out and now he got screwed and he's going to leave. But like, does anyone actually believe this anymore? Like, I know there's like a subset of the internet that does, but like,
Right.
I don't. If you actually believe that he's gone, like, that's, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
He's not. Like, he's
100% not right. Well, I just thought of this as we were saying that. What if Wardlow is his mole, and then when he comes back, that's how he evens the odds.
Yeah,
Wardlow
okay.
goes
I hope
back to
Wardlow's
MJF.
something. I hope Wardlow's something in this group because first of all, he doesn't fit because all the rest of them kind of have like a backstory with each other, and like he fits in the sense that he's mad at MJF, but like everyone's kind of mad at MJF. So
true.
I don't know. I would have liked it better if he was off on his own. But if he's going to be with them, I hope that I hope that maybe he's a mole, or I hope that like maybe he turns, like you said, like he turns immediately or something.
Yeah.
I hope he gets something out of it.
It needs to be something, and it needs to be something different. Like, you can only stooge a guy so many times before people are like, oh, that guy's a stooge.
Right.
You know, like, if people are going to start to lose that, respect's a weird word, but admiration, respect, whatever, for Wardlow. If you keep making him look that way.
When Wardlow was with MJF and he was being mistreated, everyone wanted to see him turn. He's like, oh, as soon as he turns on MJF, that's going to be huge for him. He's going to do great things. And then he didn't. So now, again, you're going to be like, yeah, now I saw what happened last time he was by himself. It was nothing. So, like, I'm not looking forward to it this time. Like, they kind of just repeated Wardlow's booking. He was, like, out powerbombing people, and, like, they just did it again. I don't know. Tony Khan doesn't know how to book Wardlow for some reason. It's weird.
It's what you do when you have a big man. Like, not everybody can be Andre the Giant. Like, where it's
and when
like,
you have a big man who you don't want to win the world title,
right? Yeah, that's, you can destroy everybody, but this is TV wrestling. Like we talk about Andre. Talk about not seeing the belt for a month. You might not have seen him for 6 months, but he's going to come in, beat someone up. Place is going to go nuts. He's going to go home.
Or you do Goldberg, where like he crushes everybody, and that ends with him winning the world title.
Right, and then you're screwed.
Yeah, because then what do you do? Yeah,
right. I mean, it was even getting like that with Jade. Like, as awesome as that run was, like you even said, like, it gets to the point like, oh, she's 53. Well, okay, she's going to win the next 7.
Right. And if she had stuck around, like, what would she be doing now? Like, she lost. Then what? Right. Right. Like, it's always hard when you beat somebody who's had a winning streak like that.
Yeah, because, do they, like, what do you consider a small streak for them? Like, she won 60. If she was here again, do you let her win the next 10? Like, how does that? Yeah. It's weird. But we also had the return of Private Party, which is very good for the tag division.
I think it's great for the tag division. I thought it was a little. I mean, they mentioned the Hardys, so that made me feel a little bit better. It seemed weird that they were just like, "This is our old gimmick," and they just jumped right into it, which I get because, like,
dude was hurt, around,
so he had to. But like, it's weird that he completely just reverted back to his old gimmick.
Which, I mean, I'm happy. He must be a really well liked by somebody, because it was always weird that he was kind of just thrown in with the Hardys. But if you think about it, the whole time, I mean, probably 8 or 9 months that Mark Quinn has been out, like, he wouldn't have been on television. Right. So, that is good thing that he was in that weird group.
I'm happy for them back as a team. I think they're good. I like them as a team. I think they're going to be a good tag team. I think it's good for the tag division. It kind of just seems like we're just going to erase everything that happened in the last year. And remember Private Party? It just like
true.
It was a little weird, but it's fine. Like it's not a big deal. I'll move on. They'll move on. It'll be fine. But it's a little strange.
And we finally got to see Mariah May in her debut against Queen
Mercedes Moné.
No, Queen Aminata. Mercedes is next week.
Oh, okay. Sure she is.
Hey, I'm on record now. I can't go back.
There's not to make this all, but it's just, I love how there's been like 3 or 4 times now where the internet is just like, it's definitely her. It's not her. Still hasn't been her. It wasn't her in Los Angeles. It wasn't her as a at All In. It wasn't her. Every single Tony Khan major announcement wasn't her.
There's just something behind this rumor, though. It's just
weird that it's been a rumor for like a year. Like either sign or don't sign. Like it's weird that like I don't know.
Well, I think she is at this point, and I think they're waiting to debut her. Like when talks fell apart, and I'm like, this is just like the recently one when the news broke that talks fell apart between her and WWE.
Yeah,
I think as you said, she had a number from AEW and was like, hey, can you match this or do better? And they were like, no. And she was like, okay, well, I don't know what's going on yet. And I think, play a little bit of the game, little handshake agreement. And like, because we all know it's going to leak the second that pen hits the paper, so
I do feel like what happened is they were planning on signing her for All In and then she got hurt.
Right.
And then they were like, okay, well, whenever you're back, that deal still stands. Like just whenever you're able to wrestle, you can sign it. And now she's probably able to wrestle and was like, oh, well, I could sign it, but I could also take it to WWE and say, this is how much they're going to give me. Can you, and more power to her. Like that's the benefit. That's the benefit of there being 2 companies is you could take an offer from one over to the other one and be like, so can you do this? And yeah, I think you're right. I think she probably took that offer. It was like, they're offering me X number of dollars. Are you going to do that? Oh, you're not? Okay, well, then maybe I'll sign that one. Like, that worked. I love it. I think it's great. So I do think she's going to come. I just think it's funny that like there's been so many weeks when everyone's just like, she'll definitely be here this week. And then she wasn't.
I was on the internet for 4,000 hours yesterday. Like it all started off when she got on the plane at like, I think at 7:30 in the morning. Excuse me. And I was like, oh, she's flying to Jersey.
I didn't think she'd be on Dynamite because they didn't mention it at all. I think when she is going to show up, it's going to be like, it can't be a mystery partner now because they've done it before and it wasn't her. But I do think they're going to drop a bunch of hints like Tony Storm or Willow is going to come out and be like, I have unfinished business with a certain person. And then like, I think it'll be like when CM Punk showed up and they're like, they made casual mentions to him.
Right.
And they'll do something. She's not just going to show up out of nowhere because they'll want to pop a rating for that show.
Very true. And there was, Prince Nana last night said that Swerve was the boss's boss. And people are speculating now that she might be, she might be part of the Mogul Embassy. How cool
that would be cool. That would work.
Yes. I mean, I kind of know her career. You followed it a little better.
Yeah.
I know she's very good in the ring. How is she on the mic? Like, would putting her in a group be a bad thing or a good thing?
I mean, she's pretty good on the mic. She's not bad. She's not, CM Punk or anything, but she's pretty good. Like, she can hold her own. She can cut a decent promo. Like, and she has her whole story of like, she actually really loves wrestling. She has a backstory of loving wrestling from when she was like a kid. And so she can kind of do what MJF sort of does, where she can lean on her like history of just caring about wrestling enough to she's good. She's good enough that she can do promos on her own. Yeah. But putting in her group would make a lot of sense too.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
So we didn't get her debut. We did get a debut.
Yes. After Mariah May's match,
which was a good match. I liked it.
It was a very good match. And props to Queen Aminata. Deonna Purrazzo. I always want to say her Purrazzo. See, I do say it wrong every time. Is All Elite. Yes. She officially signed. She was TNA, correct? Yes.
Yeah.
She left TNA. She was a free agent, no bad blood or anything, but boy, does she put a shot in the arm to the already stellar women's division.
Yeah, I loved her performance. I loved her like attitude coming out. I actually loved that. Like my first thought was like, oh, they're going to overshadow Mariah May, but they didn't, because Mariah May was like, well, I'm not her messenger. You tell her yourself. I like that too. Awesome. I thought that was great. I thought their like promo together was great.
Did you happen to notice Renee's face whenever Deonna got slapped by Mariah?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it didn't come across the air, but she must have caught her pretty solid, because Renee was like, ooh, that one hurt.
Yeah. I also liked how they were taking shots at New Jersey, and then it led to something.
Yeah.
It led to like her coming out to defend New Jersey, and I just pictured you enjoying the fact that they took shots at New Jersey.
I was just going to say 100. Everything they said was correct. That place is garbage. Apologize to anybody that's listening from New Jersey. I didn't mean to offend.
It's going to turn out 90% of our audience is in New Jersey. And there goes all our listeners.
That was the moment that it ended. We had the exact moment. Yeah, but New Jersey sucks. Or at least Newark does. We'll go that. I'll put the stamp of approval on that. Newark sucks.
There you go.
But the Brodeur statue is pretty cool. I will say that. But yeah, she's all elite. It's gonna be like we've been saying that the women's division needs pumped up. There needs to be better representation. And the past 2 weeks, I know that sounds very pathetic. The past 2 weeks have been very good, but
I mean, they are getting somewhere. There's more storylines now. Like
finally
storylines that aren't just for the titles. Like they have more going on, which is good.
And even with this debut last night, like you said, it got Mariah May having her first match. It got her over a little bit. It got Deonna over. It got Queen Aminata. Like it served a purpose. Yeah. It wasn't just they weren't put out there to have Deonna debut.
Right.
So now here's my next question. Do we get the All Elite Women pay-per-view that I predicted this year?
I don't think they do a women's pay-per-view. I still think that the first step is they're going to do a women's main event on a pay-per-view. And I think somewhere they'll be, especially if Mercedes Renee shows up, they'll have the star power they need to have women's main event, because there should be at some point. It would make sense. So I feel like that's the first step, is like a main event, not a Dynamite or a Collision main event, like a pay-per-view main event.
I was just thinking
between two women.
Do you do Mercedes and Jamie Hayter at All In?
Oh, that'd be awesome. I would love that.
Oh, I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Okay, I want that to happen now.
One thing, we're not going to talk about all of Dynamite. One thing I wanted to mention about Dynamite was, I mean, Jericho wasn't there, Mox wasn't there. Obviously, he's in Japan. Danielson, same thing. Claudio wasn't there. Like a lot of their big names weren't there, so it was like a young guys show, sort of. It was like Swerve, and not he's especially young, but like he's a newer face in the main event scene. Swerve and Daniel Garcia and Takeshita. I mean, Darby again. He's been there a long time, but he's not Mox or Danielson.
Right.
They kind of gave them the show, and they did a great job.
Wonderful job. And let's talk about, first off, Takeshita's rolling German suplex down the ramp. Amazing. But yeah, that was, that great point. Not a lot of, I don't want to say star power, because that's like I'm offending the athletes.
Like the established older star power.
Right.
Like Christian did a promo, but that's it. Like Adam Copeland wasn't on the show. Like their biggest names.
Right.
Kenny Omega's obviously hurt, right? Like Hangman showed up at the end, but he wasn't there. Samoa Joe wasn't there, right?
Yeah, the new champion wasn't even there. That's
MJF wasn't there. Like all their biggest names weren't there, really.
Well, come on, man. We already established MJF's never going to be in AEW again. Ever. That's never happened.
Yes, of course. Because Cody said that he thinks he's going to come to WWE one day. Because we know Cody always tells the truth. Cody's never and Cody's not like the number one company guy right now. Like Cody
Yeah,
says whatever Cody needs to say right now and no problem with it. Like it
Right.
makes sense. But like if AEW is paying Cody, AEW is the greatest. If WWE is paying Cody, WWE is the greatest. Like, of course, makes sense. But like you can't trust what Cody says.
I mean, he has a story to finish, though.
That's right. It's not getting finished. But
No, Cody's writing Moby Dick 2. That's how big his story is.
But like what I noticed about Takeshita, like he hasn't been on TV. Like he beat Kenny Omega twice in the summer and then kind of did nothing. And I was just like, oh, they're kind of wasting Takeshita. But he came back and like immediately had an incredible match. I know Darby's also really good. So like that was both of them.
I wonder if maybe Takeshita had like maybe a little nagging injury or something,
because he should be
exactly
main event, just like Daniel Garcia. Just like I think that is the next level of their main event. It's Swerve and Daniel Garcia and Takeshita, and like that's all awesome. Like that's gonna be great.
Oh man, Takeshita's definitely gonna be in the C2 next year.
Oh, that'd be great.
Gonna be. Oh yeah, like I really hope they do a women's for the sole fact to split it up. Because the C2 was so good. Like, I want another one, but I can't wait a year.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And our women's one would be incredible. Like, they have such a... You sent me a screenshot of, like, the women's roster before we went on. And it's so good. Like, they can have, especially when Jamie Hayter comes back and Britt Baker comes back and Thunder Rosa's back full time. Like, it's great stuff.
What a time. What a time.
Now, here's something people talk about a lot, and I never agree with them, but I'm starting to kind of not agree with them, but see the issue. Does AEW have just too many wrestlers? Like not it's not necessarily a bad thing, but like all those guys we talked about weren't there. Mox and Danielson and Kenny Omega and Jericho and Adam Copeland and MJF and Samoa, and like they still had a great episode of Dynamite. They still have Swerve. They still have Takeshita. They still have Daniel. Like you can't put them all on all the time. Is that a problem, or is it a nice thing to have?
I was going to say it's a nice thing to have, and the way that it's used by Tony and the rest of the booking crew, as we always say, it makes sense. If like nobody had, when we saw the main event last night, no one was like, oh man, Garcia and Swerve, like, no, that makes sense.
Right.
But also the Christian segment could have ended the show. Like that would have made sense. Any
Darby and Takeshita could have been a main event. That would have been
right. Yeah. AEW has it set up where it's. I mean, we're both hockey nerds. They have third and fourth lines, and it's accepted. Where again, I don't want to just talk on WWE. Like they're athletes over there too, but there's like there's two WWEs. There's the ones that are the holy grail that they care about. Then there's everybody else.
Right. Yeah. What I realized just talking about that was like AEW has had a big roster for 2 years now since all the signings came over, like Danielson and Adam Cole and everybody. Since they all showed up, they've had a really big roster, and kudos to them because they've had a lot of huge names in AEW, like Adam Copeland's and Moxley's and Jericho's and Daniels, and like they could have just filled the shows with them, and had good shows and great. But like they managed to build up Takeshita and Swerve and Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy and Daniel Garcia. Dude, like 2 or 3 years ago, no one really knew who they were. 5 years ago, nobody knew who they were, right? And like,
absolutely,
they managed to build all of those guys up while still having Mox and Danielson and Jericho and CM Punk for a while, and like some of the older guys.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow they managed to build up a whole group of guys underneath them. That's I don't know. I just noticed it now, like that they managed to do that somehow. It was really cool. And Will Ospreay's coming.
Yeah, that, and I was going to say that the even cooler thing is you have something like Ring of Honor right now, where you talked about Griff Garrison earlier. Griff and Cole Carter are a tag team down there now, and in a year or so, if they're still together, like, and it comes time to bump them up, it'll make sense.
Yeah, even like Athena, like she's doing great stuff there. Like she could easily be in a main event on Dynamite, and it would be fine. Like you wouldn't think twice.
Yeah, and I really like what they have done with the brand. it's not necessarily all rookies. It's a nice little like, Claudio was a world champion. Eddie's their champion now. Athena, like, it's a nice mix of new and veterans, and it again, you get to see people that you don't normally get to see, and it's a good system.
Yeah, I just I just love. I'm thinking of Tony Khan being like, oh man, Mox isn't here, Jericho's not here, Danielson's not here, Kenny Omega's not here, Samoa Joe's not here, MJF's not here. All we have left is Darby and Swerve and Takeshita, and like
right.
Eddie Kingston, and like what? How? Like how is that even possible? Right? Like I don't know. It was fun. Definite. Whenever you think of the AEW roster, you think that like, yeah, Will Ospreay is going to show up, and they could sign some other people, like Mercedes Moné could be there, like they could be.
Yeah.
It could. I don't know. I've been a little not jaded, but like a little worn out by wrestling recently because like there's just so much. There's had so many AEW pay-per-views. There's Collision. There's Dynamite. I don't really watch Rampage anymore, but there's just been so much where it's easy to get kind of burned out with like, oh, there's more. I already watched. Like I feel that way a little bit, but then I'll watch a show that's fun, or I'll like talk about it and then get all excited again and like want to watch more. Like it's fun. I like where they're going. I think that people had this thing, and I kind of agree with them. People have had this thing on the internet that annoyed me up until yesterday of like, oh, you have to bring back the old feeling of AEW, which like, yeah, the old feeling of AEW was relevant 4 years ago, but you have to change. You can't just keep doing the same thing you did 4 years ago. But like yesterday, they did kind of have like, they had Trent on, they had people who kind of built AEW, and like they're still relevant, they're still on, and they can still put on a good show. So like if they need to, like we've said this before, if you have your roster and you need a main event and everyone's healthy and everyone's there, 9 times out of 10 you're not going to go, I'm going to put Dark Order and Best Friends on,
right?
And I'm not going to have Danielson and Moxley and Claudio and Samoa Joe, and I'm not going to do that. Like 90% of the time you're going to go to the guys who are huge, and you should. But it's nice to know that when they're not there, you do have other options.
Right. You're not painted into that corner just because it's like, oh, are people going to know who so-and-so is? Or like, like we've talked about this from day one, but it really does seem like a team.
Yeah.
And that, you could say what you want about the locker room. Is it divided? Is people mad at each other? People hate each other in every workplace. So of course it is, like not everyone's friends. But yeah, like you brought up a lot of good points, and I think that's what I like the most about the company. I mean, of course, like the wrestling itself is good, but the fact that it's taking people that you just said, like 4 or 5 years ago, we didn't know who any of these people were. They're household names now. Like that's awesome. Like I have total faith in the company.
If someone had told you 5 years ago there's going to be a wrestling show that you really like, and some of the top guys are Danny Garcia and Konosuke Takeshita, would you be like, who are you talking about?
Yeah, right.
Right. And now you're just like, yeah, that would be great. I want to see that. Like,
yeah. And there's going to be this guy who's their champion who barely speaks and like makes funny little thumbs ups, and he wears sunglasses and he falls off the top rope when he does a splash. You'd be like, well, that just sounds dumb.
Yeah, but it works, and it's
totally.
So on that note,
yes.
And since this is kind of our World's End review, even though we talked about other stuff too, what were your thoughts, like just overall thoughts on World's End, the pay-per-view?
I solid 70% out of 100. It wasn't bad. I mean, I would, if that's what people call garbage and bad pay-per-views, I'll take that. I mean, I didn't feel like I was ripped off paying for it. If that's what you call bad, I'll take 10 bad ones a year then, because I enjoyed it.
That was their worst pay-per-view.
Right.
That doesn't mean it was bad. It just means all their other pay-per-views were also really, really good.
Yeah. That's, if that's what you consider awful, well, then I'll take an awful. If that's going to be their stinker every, once a year, okay, I'll take that.
They were bound for a pay-per-view that wasn't 10 out of 10.
Right.
And this was still, 7 or 8 out of 10. So that's fine.
Yeah.
And there were matches in there, like the Copeland one, like the Eddie Mox match, like the main event that you're like, made it worth it. Like, So yeah, it was good. I am glad there isn't going to be another one though till Revolution.
Same. I'm so glad there's 2 months off.
Not even just like the time or the money. It's just like space them out a bit.
And I was just gonna say, I hope they do this. Like, I know they're not going to, because the summer is. I mean, that's your bread and butter. But I was hoping, like, maybe skip July or August. But I mean, you're not gonna skip August because that's all in. But maybe skip July.
Yeah.
Because isn't there's that's usually a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, so you could skip July.
Yeah, they usually do. They do like the Canadian tour in July because they have the Owen then.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So yeah, do that.
Okay.
Don't have a pay-per-view. I guess Forbidden Doors in June. Yeah, skip July. That makes sense.
Yeah, and then if you have 10 pay-per-views a year and skip 2 months, like that, just those 2 months break it up.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, do you have any closing thoughts here, sir?
No, I think that's it. I enjoyed all of this a lot more than I thought I was. Like I said, I've kind of been worn out by wrestling, but like I've enjoyed it all a lot. I'm looking forward to what's coming up. And I don't know if you're right. If that's a bad pay-per-view, that's fine. Like you can do that. You can do that every 5 or 6 pay-per-views could be 7 out of 10, and that's fine. Like
yeah. Please. Yeah, I don't ever want to be like, man, that was a waste of money.
Yeah. Again, I watched WWE in like 2015 and 2016, which was the worst thing I've ever watched. So this is, and that's not a shot at current WWE because I don't watch it, but from all I can tell from what I see is it's good now. So good for them.
Yeah, good for
but
them.
But like I've watched terrible pay-per-views and this was not a terrible pay-per-view.
Yay. All right. On that note, make sure to like, subscribe, share. We are at Elite City Pod everywhere. You name it, we're there. So subscribe, share, all that, please. It helps. We have a bunch of new subscribers here recently. Welcome to our community. Follow us. Interact with us.
Hopefully you're not from New Jersey because
hopefully
we offended you.
If you made it this far, hey, maybe you agree with me. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe there's a whole we hate New Jersey audience that now we're catering to. I don't know.
Hey, let me know. Like I said, we interact. Interact with us online. We'll talk to you. We have a few things on the docket. I think we're gonna have maybe a guest next week. That's possible. So. We'll keep.
And Biddy will be back. Don't worry.
And Biddy will be back. Yes, she will be. She taking the celebration a little too far, if you ask me. Going to the West Coast. I mean, come on, unneeded.
She told us. I think her exact words were, "I'm too good for you. I can't be on the show." Yeah, I think that was it. But I don't know.
Like I'm tired of winning all these pay-per-view pick'ems.
You're boring me. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Come on. Anyways. Until next week. Later.